that was said, it had to be the last time that George Payton talked, so that's what, the Combine or NFL owners meetings. And I think he said this part at the Combine. He said, hey, when we get to number 20, there are going to be 4 names that we like, that we have right there in our wheelhouse. And you and I kind of talked about, all right, what are some of those 4 names? I want to revisit that conversation. Obviously, Hampton's a part of that. I want to put Henderson there, but if I'm the Broncos, you don't have both running backs there, do you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do.
Because you're worried about Hampton not being on the board?
Right, because you have to think and be ready for all options on the table, including Hampton, someone leapfrogging you for Hampton. It's one of the reasons why sitting at 20, I think, is perhaps the worst idea for the Denver Broncos. We have to see the way the draft falls out, right? But if you just sit there and you're like, well, we didn't get Genty because we were never going to get him, and then someone leapfrogs you, the Steelers, the Chargers, others, leapfrog you for a Marion Hampton, now what? Mm-hmm. So I think just being sedate is wrong-headed for the Broncos.
Okay.
Be ready to stick and move, man. Have different options.
Well, I like that. Then I will put Henderson back on there. So, if I were going to think about that, all right, my 4 names that are just options, ideas for pick number 20, I would go Hampton, Henderson, Colston Loveland, still there, right? Depending on what happens in front of him, as you just kind of talked about with running backs.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like Tedero McMillan's a pipe dream. He's not going to be there. So I'm going to go back to my defensive lineman, and I'd put Walter Nolan there. So I'd go Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, Colston Loveland, and Walter Nolan as my 4 options.
I like it.
And I would tell myself, all right, they land one of those 4, I feel pretty good about pick number 20.
Yeah, and they feel pretty good about pick number 20 and where they're at and what they can do. Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, these are the 2 names. Kenneth Grant, the Michigan kid, 6'3", 330, right? Very strong, very tough to move off the spot. Walter Nolan, the Ole Miss kid, 6'3", 300. More of an athletic profile in terms of knifing in and getting interior pressure. You like what you see from Walter Nolan. Both of them are options at 20. Now, you've got other options at defensive tackle at 51. My guy, Tyleik Williams, the Ohio State kid who I love. He's a freak athlete, pushing 330. Yeah. So you get that Kenneth Grant size, but Kenneth Grant's just like a big guy that you can't move. Tyleik Williams at 51 from Ohio State, he's a big guy you can't move that also can knife through and get interior pressure. But put a pin in that. Your 4 should include 2 defensive tackles and 2 running backs.
Okay.
I do not think, and we're a week away, I could totally be wrong.
No tight end?
I do not think a tight end is on their first round list. Second round, we better get ready for Auntie Chill. Because the one player that I hear most about in, kind of back channels, conversations, people around the draft, people around teams, people in buildings, is that Mason Taylor might end up being the best tight end in this class.
Auntie Chill.
So, yeah, Auntie Chill. And if you're thinking, okay, tight end is taken care of with Evan Ingram, tight end at 20, I do not believe will be a pick. And in fact, if Colston Loveland's on the board and Travion Henderson's there, I'm not a fan of taking Henderson at 20. Or Hampton, honestly, at 20. If they do, I'm not going to lose my mind. But you're taking both those backs over Colston Loveland, who I have as the best tight end in this class.
Is it because of Evan Ingram?
It's because of Evan Ingram, and it's because if you really like Mason Taylor.
The depth, yeah.
And, the Broncos are talking right now. Sean Payton, George Payton, talking at a press conference there. It's my favorite presser of the year. It's their pre-draft presser, where you try to stick and move. You try to get them to say something maybe they don't want to say. Probably going to say nothing, might say something, but either way, if you're the Broncos, have 2 defensive tackles. And I think Walter Nolan is a great player to highlight there because he's the type of disruptive player that can really turn your defense, kind of turn the offense on their ear a little bit. Mm-hmm. Kenneth Grant's the big guy, can't run on him, but I kind of like Walter Nolan there as well. So 2 defensive tackles, 2 running backs need to be on your 4 if you're sitting there at 20.
Okay. I like that. And Walter Nolan is one that I just look at of all the mocks that I've seen. It's honestly anywhere from like 14 to 28.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he could pop up anywhere on those mocks. And your guy, Kenneth Grant from Michigan, same sort of thing. He's just a little earlier on some of the mocks that I've seen, but crazier things have happened, right? And if the running back room and the Shador slip, whatever happens in front of him, that could be one of these defensive linemen that get pushed down and end up landing in somebody's feet that weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, if you're the Denver Broncos, be ready. Be ready to move. Be ready even to move back. I don't think that all their 4 players, if we say Hampton, Henderson, Nolan, Grant, those are the 4. Those are the 4. There's about a 0% chance all 4 are gone, right? Maybe 3 of the 4, probably 2 of the 4.
Yeah.
But there's 0% chance all 4 of those guys are gone. But if that's the case, then try to feel it out. Because as you mentioned with Nolan, same thing with Henderson and Hampton. You've seen anywhere from 12 for Hampton to, 31 with the Chiefs. Henderson with the Chiefs has popped up on some mock drafts. They do have some interest in Henderson from what I've been told.
Hate that.
So, again, it's kind of like you might see Ashton Genty with the Raiders. You might see Trevion Henderson with the Chiefs. And you're trotting out Audric Estime.
It's nightmare fuel.
Exactly.
That's absolutely nightmare
even the
fuel.
Chargers went out and got Najee Harris at least.
Yeah.
Right? And they're interested in a running back. So be the aggressor. Do not sit around and wait and think like, well, we'll see what falls to us. Find who you love. Go get him. And that should be the mantra for George Payton coming up in 1 week.
One of our texters didn't throw your name on it, but is asking about, as they write, how about this guy? And it's Harold Fannin Jr. Yeah, his as they write, the Bowling Green tight end, great stats. We've talked about Harold Fannin Jr. a lot. He was kind of our first
Senior Bowl darling.
Of, all right, he's not Tyler Warren, he's not Colston Loveland. The next, though, we talked about Harold Fannin a lot early in this process.
Yeah, you just start calling him Harold.
Yeah, he's my boy.
You're like on a first-name basis. Like I'm on a first-name basis with my guy Ken, who says, I like to kick it with Cease and Dover when I can.
Nice.
Right
Thanks
on,
for that,
Ken. We appreciate
you doing it.
Always. So, yeah, keep them coming in. Who do you like and who's in your 4?
I like what you said, too, about the 4 there is one's available. So you have the list of 4.
Yeah.
One of them will be made available. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about with the Broncos is their top 30 visits. So we're a week away from them coming to an end, and they actually only have 8 left. So nice work on the timing there. 22 of the top 30 visits have been completed. 5 wide receivers, 5 running backs, 4 tight ends, plus the 2 locals. So it's actually 6 tight ends, but the 2 local visits don't count against their 30.
Yeah.
2 defensive linemen, 2 offensive guards, an edge rusher, a linebacker, a cornerback, and even a quarterback. Was that the North Dakota State kid?
Yeah.
That they brought in? That's what I
Cam
thought.
Miller.
Cam
Miller.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, that's how it breaks down. And then obviously, at least to what jumped out to me, was 5 wide receivers, 5 running backs, 6 total tight ends. All right. I know they need running backs. They need 2 of those running backs. I know they need tight ends. They need minimum of 1. And I wouldn't be upset if they came back with 2 from this draft, 1 early and 1 very late that would have to fight for a roster spot. But am I crazy to, have my eyeballs pop a little bit at 5 wide receivers brought in? Of the position groups brought in, wide receivers is tied with the running backs for most.
Right.
And we know that running back is a desperate position of need.
Yes, it is a desperate position of need. And I think that some of them now, you look at Matthew Golden, the speedster from Texas. He'll be a first-round pick. You look at Luther Burden, the new Deebo Samuel from Mizzou. He'll be a first-round pick. He should be, right? So they've talked to some guys that are a little ranked a little bit higher. But they've also talked to Efton Chisholm. And if you remember when I was in Dallas at the Shrine Bowl, I was like, okay, he's not Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah,
but he's kind of Danny Amendola, and he plays on that stupid red turf. I hate watching film, even of my guy Ashton Genty on the stupid blue turf. But the red turf of Eastern Washington, you're colorblind. You don't have to. You don't have my same struggles, right? My same dismay, because I say, look at that red turf, and you're like, that's just turf.
Yeah, right.
Well, we should pull up some Efton Chisholm highlights
to see
what you see on that stupid red turf.
That's like Kevin was at Red Rocks last night, and everybody's like, Red Rocks is so beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, those rocks, something else.
It's
Telling
rocks.
you what.
It's
Woo!
rocks. Maybe that's why you have it a little further down your list of venues.
Because it's not red to me.
Because it's not red. It's just rocks.
Yeah.
We're going to rocks today. But I look at the players they brought in at the wide receiver position, and I believe there will be one selected late now. And perhaps we can talk about this tomorrow or next week. We've got a lot to get to on this show talking all Denver sports, as we do, better than anyone, I did a 7-round mock for the Broncos.
You did.
Mason and I did it for Orange and Blue today. Mace did his on Monday. I did mine yesterday. So I do have a full mock just for the Broncos, not for every team.
Yeah.
And it includes 2 running backs and 2 tight ends. And it includes 1 wide receiver late that everyone is going to love, LeJonte Wester. If it was Jimmy Horn Jr. late, I would do that as well. Horn Jr. is probably going to be a 5th rounder, 6th rounder, something like that.
What's late? One of their 6th?
Yeah. Day 3 pick.
Okay.
So I had Wester as the final pick in the 6th round for the Denver Broncos. So I think wide receiver is on this list, but I don't think it's as high as people think. Maybe, again, it's Luther Burden at 20 or something. That's crazy. And with Luther Burden, what's weird is he's got the strength, he's got the size, he doesn't have the length. Sean Payton likes length. He likes wingspan on his receivers. Burden doesn't have that. He's Deebo Samuel. Okay. Sean Payton's got Marvin Mims, who's kind of like mini Deebo or whatever. It's my bike, punk. Either way, I'm not sitting there at 20 going, we really need Matthew Golden.
No. And I'm honestly, like, the Luther Burden stuff, I'm not that impressed with Luther Burden, honestly. I think Egbuka, the kid from Ohio State, is a million times better than Luther Burden.
And Tedero McMillan is the best receiver in this class, unless you count Travis Hunter as a receiver. And Travis, somebody had it might have been Chad Johnson himself.
I think I like Travis Hunter as a receiver over Luther Burden as a receiver.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Travis Hunter, if Travis was just a receiver, he'd be my number 1 receiver in this class.
Oh, over T-Mac?
Over Tedero McMillan. Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is. Well, he's an impressive player, and I think it might have been Chad Johnson himself that did the pro comparison. I don't know why people don't like pro comparisons. I do them all the time. Like, stop saying that Ashton Genty's LaDainian Tomlinson. Stop it. Oh, God. But somebody said Travis Hunter is a receiver. I have it more like CeeDee Lamb, which is quite impressive.
Still pretty good.
He's like Chad Johnson. He really is. As in terms of receiver, I refuse to call him Ocho Cinco because that just means 8'5".
Yeah.
You're an LSM.
Yeah.
You know, it's just Ocho Cinco is not. It should be Oshente Cinco. If it's 85, it's Oshente Cinco.
He didn't drop it yet, though? He still wants to be that?
I have no idea. I'll run across their podcast once in a while.
That's
because him and Unc they're pretty funny sometimes.
I get my Chad Johnson fill with nightcap clips that roll across my timeline.
Yeah, the nightcap clips, I think that's enough Chad Johnson for me.
Yeah, me too.
Oshente Cinco, Chad.
That's what it should have been. But hey, if that's your pro comp, that means you're probably on track to be a pretty good NFL player. Because Chad Johnson was exactly
pretty good
that.
NFL player, right?
Exactly that. All right, Broncos fans, what do you make of it? What do you think about this draft? Do the pre-draft visits tell you anything that maybe you didn't quite know before? Let us know. 303-713-1043.
Do people think they need a receiver?
I feel like they do.
Why?
I mean, the team must feel like they need it, but that's what I don't understand. Sean Payton said, "No, we're out on some of these wide receivers because we want to see this room develop and grow."
Right.
But now you've brought in 5 wide receivers in pre-draft visits, telling me you're either A, drafting one, or B, it's a high priority position when the 7th round comes to an end and you're searching the free agent waiver wire.
Is this gamesmanship?
That could be too.
Hey, they might take Matthew Golden. Now, I believe the Cowboys are going to take Matthew Golden at 12. I'll see if my intel tells me something different before I do my mock draft next week. That will debut on denversports.com a week from today, my one and only mock draft.
Nice.
Based on what teams are likely to do, not what I want them to do. What I want the Broncos to do is move up in the top 5 and get Ashton Genty. And I'd be damned the price and F them picks and all that kind of good stuff. But what are they likely to do? Maybe it's so the Broncos can just have that image of they might take a defensive tackle, they might take a receiver, they might take a running back, they might take a tight end. I think it's all of that because at 20 right now, if you're an opponent, you're the Steelers right behind the Denver Broncos. Do you know what Denver's going to do?
No idea. I mean, you have a feeling they're looking for a running back. But you don't know if they've fallen in love with one at 20 or can wait until 51 or even 85 to grab that player.
Exactly. So I think that's exactly where Sean Payton wants to be. Again, their press conference going on right now. We'll be pulling some audio from that. I'm sure he's saying nothing, kind of like Dion said nothing at his press conference that we will get to. But either way, I want to know what's the vibe, what's being said, what's the feel a week away from the draft. Is it as sure as it's a running back? It's a running back Whether it's Henderson, Hampton, moving up for Genty, it's a running back. Are we sure it's a running back?
I'm not. I was sure at first it was a tight end. Then they added Evan Ingram.
Right.
Then I was like, oh, it's definitely going to be a running back. And then I heard George Payton and Sean Payton talk about how deep this is with defensive linemen. And then I started to look at contract situations and go, wow, JFM, Zach Allen, Malcolm Roach, all these guys are going to be free agents sooner rather than later.
Yep.
And you've got to address that position before they just walk, and you're stuck then looking at either young guys in next year's draft that you have to have them start in year one, or a free agent. And if you want the services like Zach Allen and JFM, you're going to have to break the bank for those kind of guys.
Yeah, so do you draft the future right now in a Walter Nolan, in a Kenneth Grant? Do you make that move with the first-round pick? It's possible, and I'm not going to be disappointed if it's defensive tackle because of the strength of this running back class. I prefer the best of the best. I want the new LaDainian Tomlinson. I want Ashton Genty. But if they go defensive tackle, I'm not going to lose my mind because that also makes sense based on the strength of this class. And honestly, the best running back Sean Payton ever had was a third-round pick, Alvin Kamara.
Well, and I also think, like, all right, let's fast forward to a week from tomorrow. If we get in here and on Friday we're doing the show to talk about Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant, that's not that sexy. But then we get back to work on Monday, and they've landed Devin Neal and Travion Henderson and Mason Taylor, and we go, all right, they did something the right way here, took best player available, and then addressed some needs. It wouldn't feel as sexy on Friday in the moment, but you'd have to see the full picture before you actually made your final conclusion.
Well, I'll tell you this. If they take Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan, defensive tackles, on day one, Friday's show is going to be about the running backs that are left.
Yeah, you're right.
Can you believe Travion Henderson didn't get they got to move up. The Broncos are 51. They got to move up for Travion Henderson. This is a must. God, they have to call right now. Call the Cleveland Browns. Get 33. Like, Friday's show is going to be, Walter Nolan. And it's going to be who's left.
Yeah.
What running backs are left. And if it's Travion Henderson, he's not going to be there at 51. I guarantee you he will not be there at 51. I'm even questioning if Quishon Judkins is going to be there.
Really?
Now, I think he should be, but you get a running back run, you don't want to be on the tail end of that thing. You don't want to be, bringing up the rear, so to speak. You did that last year when you didn't take Bucky Irving, and you ended up taking Audric Estime because you were late. Welcome to the party, pal. You can't be late when it comes to runs. You want to start that bad boy. Mm-hmm. And if you're sitting there with Walter Nolan, again, fine player, we're going to be excited about him. If the Broncos draft him on day one, on day two, you better be working the phones to move up for whatever that best running back remaining is.
If they were to pick a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, we're not talking edge here. We're talking interior defensive lineman.
Yeah.
At 20. And you first, second, third rounders, you tell me if I'm wrong here, you get starters out of those rounds.
Yeah.
And you get them sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So would Kenneth, whomever it may be, pick your favorite?
No.
They're not starting, right?
No.
And it's just rotational?
It's
at 20 C's?
Rotational, and here's the thing. It's also for the future. When you don't pay Malcolm Roach or you don't pay JFM, then you slide right in. Have you met Kevin? Have you met Walter Nolan, right? That's what you'll do in a year from now. So I think that's another way to look at it as well. Does 20 need to be a starter day one? I'm kind of saying yeah. Because I believe Super Bowl 60 is theirs until it's not. I believe that the Broncos believe they are Super Bowl contenders. Y'all may have different opinions. Tribe out there, let us know, 303-713-1043. But I believe that the Broncos in the building, George Payton, Sean Payton talking right now, I guarantee they think they're in a Super Bowl window. Well, if that's the case, you're not taking a player for the future. You're taking a player for the now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it's not that anybody banks on this or drafts like this, but what do you get in football? Injured. And those guys with big bodies rolling up on you, linemen falling over on you, yeah, it's just a matter of time. And if you had a 20th overall pick to go, damn, we just lost star player, key cog. But there's something to slide in that's not as good in, first year, but not a giant drop-off of production. So that could be a part of it as well.
Can I say something offensive?
Yeah, please. Actually, I prefer that.
Get as offended as you like. Vance Joseph, you got enough. All right? Mm-hmm. Now, they're going to add, and they're going to draft a corner, by the way. I had Kobe Bryant from Kansas because a little bit of Aqib Talib. He's not the same player as Aqib, but he's like if you took Chris Harris and Aqib Talib and you had like a love child that was both of them together, that's Kobe Bryant.
That kid's going to snatch your chain and then do the incomplete sign after every play.
Every single time. I love him. I love him. I love him. I know Chris loves him as well. So they will take a corner. But here's the bottom line. Vance Joseph, they've done – I mean, dude, you gotta have everything? You got to have everything.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, the defense has to be absolutely perfect and depth everywhere. No, the offense needs work. The offense needs help. The offense needs 2 running backs. The offense needs 2 more tight ends. The offense needs a late-round wide receiver. Get the help for the offense this time around. VJ, appreciate you, bro. You're not going to get first choice. You're not going to get first dibs. You've got enough. The defense is rock solid.
Yeah.
They're ready to rock. The offense, they're that garage band that needs some more work.
Yeah, they're like, we have a bass player, but he kind of sucks. Can we get auditions for new ones?
Well, and then they have the lead singer is Bo Nix. You know Bo Nix is a rock star, right?
Oh,
Not
yeah,
just
he
in
is.
Kev's world, but like, or maybe for Kev, he's a country star. So
Yeah.
Yes.
what do country stars have, Kev? They've got good bands around him.
Yeah. Good guitar players, good drummers.
But see, I think Bo Nix is like Keith Urban because he can play guitar and he can
Oh,
sing.
see, so you did not just do that.
He just made his whole day.
You're made, huh? I'm leaving.
Isn't that right? Isn't that right? He can do everything.
Yeah.
But you still need that good drummer. You still need that good bass player. You still need the backup vocals, right?
Yeah.
So if you're Bo Nix and you got that garage band, I know those guys are going to be good someday, but they need some more help.
I like
Defense is already touring. They're already headlining. I saw them at the Ogden before they got big.
Yeah.
They're already there.
We're Broncos defense hipsters. We knew about them before anybody knew about them.
Hipsters get so mad when their favorite bands get big. Or metalheads, like when Metallica got big. Metallica didn't have a music video until 1. I'm totally dating myself, but whatever. So they were like against MTV, against music videos, whatever.
How stupid is that?
That was their metal. They were like underground thrash metal, Bay Area thrash metal. And I remember Metallica fans that jumped off the bandwagon in 91 when the video for 1 came out. Because like, oh, they sold out. They got a video. I'm like,
That's the goal, guys.
well, that and the chicks, right?
Yeah. Money and girls.
Girls
playing in arenas.
and money.
That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You want to keep them bagging groceries at Ralph's and then making music in the garage on the weekends?
Yeah, Lars Ulrich isn't exactly Fabio out there, right?
That's hilarious.
Or Brad
You're
Pitt.
such a sellout. You bet your son I am. It's the goal. It's been my whole life to be a sellout. 2 quick texts. They didn't put their name on it, but somebody wrote on the text line, Broncos Country, let's tribe. I thought that was kind of cool.
Okay.
That's kind of cool,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Nice work from the text line, 238. And then somebody else asked me if I've ever tried the colorblind glasses. I did. They're at the bottom of Lake McConaughey right now. So I had them for a couple of years. They were great. Now I don't have them. Every time I tell somebody I'm colorblind, they're like, oh my gosh, how have you made it this far? It's colorblind, guys. It's not that big of a deal. I ask my lady if my outfit matches before I leave the house, and then I'm good to go.